Hold on tight, because what you're about to hear is far from mere gossip. This is a ticking time bomb that Hollywood never wanted exposed. Behind the dazzling red carpets, million-dollar smiles, and picture-perfect Instagram filters, lies a secret so dangerous and devastating that it could shatter reputations, destroy careers, and send shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. Tonight, one name is rattling Hollywood to its very core: Teyana Taylor. And one voice has just broken a silence that has been buried for years. Tasha K. According to the explosive claims dropped on her podcast, this is not simply about fame. This is about health, betrayal, and a hidden crisis no one was ready for. Sources reveal that confidential medical records, private lab results, and sealed conversations are now at the center of a scandal so dark that insiders are calling it a public safety nightmare. Whispers of a hidden diagnosis, allegations of secret exposure, and claims that some of the biggest names in entertainment may have unknowingly been placed at risk have left fans in utter shock. Industry insiders are scrambling in panic, phones are ringing off the hook behind closed doors, lawyers are moving at lightning speed, and damage control is already in full swing. Because if even a fraction of these allegations turn out to be true, this is no longer a simple celebrity scandal. This is a health crisis, a career-ending revelation, and a story that could permanently rewrite the image of one of Hollywood's most protected stars. So before we go any further, ask yourself this one question: what if the person you admired most was hiding the most dangerous secret of all? Because once you hear what Tasha K is about to reveal, there may be no turning back.
Or was it a relationship? Here's the thing. I know TT got upset with me when I said that she was too clingy. It was given too much too soon.
What Tasha K revealed next was something Hollywood was utterly unprepared to hear. Behind the flawless skin, the glittering red carpets, and the meticulously crafted public image, she claimed there was a secret buried deep for years. Not idle rumors, not blind items, but what she described as confidential medical history, sealed documents, and private warnings that were never meant to surface. She began her podcast in a tone that immediately sent a shiver down listeners' spines. Not playful, not joking, serious, measured, almost cautiously restrained. And that alone set off shockwaves. Because when Tasha K speaks in that tone, it usually means she is holding something immensely heavy. She told her audience that Hollywood isn't just built on talent and fame. It's built on silence, agreements, cover-ups, and secrets powerful enough to topple entire careers. And then she spoke the name that made the air go still: Teyana Taylor. According to her, this story wasn't new. It had quietly circulated behind the scenes for years, whispered among insiders, hinted at in closed circles, carefully kept from the public eye. But now, she said, the silence was finally broken. Tasha K alleged that Teyana had been hiding a serious health condition for a long time. Not something trivial. Not something temporary. Something that could, allegedly, affect intimate partners, professional relationships, and anyone who came too close. And potentially anyone who came too close. Tasha K insisted this wasn't idle speculation. She claimed to have seen medical paperwork, confidential leaks, and private conversations. And according to what she described, the contents of those documents were not just shocking, they were terrifying. She stated that this condition had not been disclosed to several people who, by all rights, should have known. And the consequences, she warned, may already have unfolded in ways the public could never have imagined. Every word she chose was deliberate, allegedly guided by confidential documents and insider testimony. Yet the implication was clear. This was not merely about one individual. This was about risk, exposure, and a chain reaction quietly rippling through Hollywood's most powerful circles. Then the story shifted to relationships. Tasha K claimed that during Teyana's most vulnerable period, right after her divorce, decisions were made that would later raise serious questions. She described Teyana as emotionally fragile at the time, raw from a public heartbreak, trying to move forward too quickly, and possibly hiding something no one around her suspected. And then she focused on one name in particular, Aaron Pierre. What she revealed next would change the entire tone of the story, plunging it into a level of tension that left listeners frozen.
Nasty. Nasty. I mean, hell, baby daddy ex-husband just got the police called on him by one of Ra Ali's alleged girls that she sent down there to have a threesome with him. And then the girlfriend that he was supposed to have threesome with didn't want to participate, and she only wanted it to be a twosome. And so allegedly he wanted to force her to do it anyway. So she had to call the police to tell the police she didn't want to participate.
The moment those words hit the air, listeners froze. This was no longer just about health. Now, it was about chaos, scandal, and behavior spiraling completely out of control. Tasha K painted a chilling portrait of a woman unraveling emotionally, making reckless decisions and pulling unsuspecting people into situations they never imagined. According to her, during this period, boundaries disappeared, lines were crossed, and environments were created that exposed people to far more than they ever signed up for. Then came the allegation that left her audience in stunned silence. Tasha K suggested that Teyana's ex-husband, a man Shumpert, may have been among the first affected, not just emotionally, but physically. She didn't state it outright, but the way she framed her words, with careful pauses, repeated emphasis, and the constant use of allegedly, left almost nothing to the imagination. She hinted that the divorce may not have been driven solely by betrayal, but by fear. Fear of what had already happened, and fear of what might be uncovered next. And according to her, the pattern did not end there. It continued, quietly, behind the scenes. She alleged that interactions with other high-profile figures followed, names carefully guarded by Hollywood. Artists, actors, power players, and among them, Kanye West, and once again, Aaron Pierre. Tasha K claimed these encounters were never casual. These were relationships formed during a period when a serious health risk may have already existed, and that, she warned, is when the story turned truly dangerous. Because at this point, it was no longer about betrayal. It was about public safety. She told her listeners that if even a portion of what she had seen in those confidential documents was accurate, the implications could ripple through Hollywood in ways no one was prepared for. If even a fraction of what Tasha K claimed was accurate, this was no longer a private matter. It had become an industry-wide concern. She explained that within Hollywood's closed circles, intricate systems exist to quietly manage situations like this: NDAs, private settlements, medical silence agreements, reputation management strategies. And she strongly implied that those very systems may have already been set in motion. Phones ringing non-stop behind the scenes, lawyers moving at lightning speed, agents scrambling in panic. Because once a health-related secret becomes public, there is virtually no controlling where the fallout lands. Yet, Tasha K insisted the most disturbing part wasn't the condition itself, it was the silence. The idea that those who should have been warned were never told. That trust had been violated in ways that could never be undone. And then she turned her focus back to Aaron Pierre. She described him as emotionally unprepared, fresh into fame, new to the unforgiving power circles of Hollywood, and likely completely unaware of the storm he was stepping into. According to her, his behavior afterward raised immediate red flags: neediness, emotional dependence, confusion, almost like someone desperately trying to process a reality they were never ready to face. And that's when she delivered another brutal assessment, a revelation that made listeners sit forward, their hearts racing, realizing just how dangerous and far-reaching this story had become.
And all I'm saying is that I felt like it was forced. I felt like she was way too clingy, too soon. You just got out of a nasty, very public divorce. And I feel like he was just rebounding.
Those words hit like a hammer, because suddenly the narrative shifted, from romance to rebound, from attraction to emotional damage control, from love to distraction. Tasha K suggested that this relationship was never meant to last. It wasn't built on stability. It wasn't built on honesty. It was built on escape, an escape from divorce, from scandal, from fear, and perhaps from a truth that was growing ever harder to hide. She told her listeners that what disturbed her most was not the gossip. It was the pattern, the timing, the secrecy, the emotional volatility, and the sheer number of people who may have unknowingly walked straight into a storm they never anticipated. By the time she concluded this part of the story, one thing became painfully clear. This was no longer a simple celebrity relationship scandal. This was the opening chapter of something far darker. Because if even a fraction of what she suggested was true, the next chapters would not be about heartbreak. They would be about risk, damage, and consequences that Hollywood could never erase. And as Tasha K paused, listeners could feel it, an almost tangible tension in the air. The most dangerous part of the story hadn't even been revealed yet. According to her, the real threat was never emotional. It was biological. She leaned closer to the microphone, her voice dropping to a whisper that instantly froze everyone listening. This was no longer just about broken relationships. It was about exposure, risk, and a silent network that could stretch far beyond anything the public had ever imagined. She claimed that once the alleged condition existed, every relationship that followed became a potential chain reaction, each one carrying consequences that no one could foresee. Not rumors, not speculation, but what Tasha K described was a pattern of silence. According to her, in private Hollywood circles, health disclosures are not handled like they are in the real world. They are managed, controlled, contained, and sometimes completely hidden. She explained that elaborate systems exist to protect reputations, not people. Doctors bound by confidentiality agreements, lawyers sealing records, managers redirecting narratives, and in that environment, truth becomes optional. She told her audience that the most disturbing part of what she uncovered was not the diagnosis itself. It was the timeline. According to the documents she allegedly reviewed, this condition may have existed long before several high-profile relationships began. And if that was true, people may have been placed at risk without their consent. Behind the scenes, she said, there were whispers, quiet warnings, private calls, subtle distancing, but nothing ever reached the public, until now. Then she shifted to the emotional fallout, because risk alone does not destroy relationships. Fear does. Insiders allegedly noticed shifts in behavior, isolation, mood swings, sudden breakups, abrupt withdrawals from long-term plans, almost as if people were leaving not because they wanted to, but because they were afraid to stay. She suggested that at least one partner began asking the hard questions, medical questions, questions with no easy answers, questions that could unravel everything. And when those questions finally surfaced, relationships collapsed overnight. No public explanations. No statements. Just silence. Then Tasha K returned her focus to Aaron Pierre, not as a rebound, but as a potential turning point. She claimed that this relationship was where the alleged secret became impossible to contain, because Aaron, according to her, was emotionally different from the others. More attached, more vulnerable, more deeply invested. She described him as someone who expected stability, only to find himself surrounded by confusion, secrecy, and emotional chaos. What she revealed next painted a picture that left listeners uneasy. According to her, after the relationship ended, people around Aaron noticed signs of distress, anxiety, withdrawal, and behavior suggesting someone grappling with something they couldn't understand or explain. And then Tasha K delivered one of her most chilling statements. She said this was the moment when the situation quietly evolved into an industry-wide warning. Not public, not official, but whispered messages between managers, private calls between agents, discreet advice from doctors. Certain individuals were allegedly quietly advised to get tested. No announcements, no alerts, just silent precautions. And then she posed the question that changed the entire tone of the podcast. What if this didn't stop with just one relationship? What if it didn't stop with two? What if this was never contained at all? Tasha K told her audience that, based on what she had seen, the alleged network extended far beyond anything anyone had imagined. Not just partners, but collaborators, artists, actors, producers, and anyone who shared intimate spaces during tours, filming, and private gatherings. And then she dropped the name that sent shockwaves through her listeners, Leonardo DiCaprio. She did not accuse, she did not confirm, but she raised the terrifying possibility that if this pattern continued unchecked, even the highest levels of Hollywood could have been affected. And then she paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Everyone in the room understood something critical. This was no longer gossip. This was a public health scenario. She warned that in situations like this, silence becomes the deadliest weapon, because the longer people remain unaware, the greater the damage grows. Then she shifted her focus to behavior. One of the most telling signs, she explained, was emotional imbalance, neediness, dependency, a constant craving for reassurance, almost as if someone was seeking comfort not merely from heartbreak, but from fear itself. And that, she claimed, was where the very relationship dynamics began to reveal cracks in the story, clues that exposed how deep and far-reaching the danger might truly be.
He sounds a little bit more needy than what she's used to. That's why she slides another hoe into the bedroom, because she ain't got time to be there. You know, she be traveling. She got 2 kids she got to fend for, you know what I'm saying? And she be on everybody's project, including her own. And she ain't got time to be settling down and cuddling and sucking on a man's ear to make him feel comfortable. And every time I saw them together, he was always like, and I'm like, why is he acting like Becky in the relationship? That's what he learned from them damn Beckys. For real. So, sucking on his ear. Y'all ain't never heard that before? People that got sucking fixations, it's like a soothing mechanism, because he can't suck his thumb in public, so she would suck on it. Come on now. Jasmine, you've seen that before, right? I just felt like he just needed a breast to suck on. He just required too much attention. And, you know, Teyana's a busy girl. So to me, I feel like, you know, for her, it was rebound. I can't say that word right now because
those words shifted everything. The narrative flipped again, from danger to escape, from exposure to distraction. Tasha K suggested that this relationship was never about love. It was about survival, moving fast, staying busy, avoiding stillness. Because in stillness, questions grow. She claimed that Teyana's schedule became relentless, back-to-back projects, non-stop travel, constant public appearances, almost as if movement itself was a strategy, a way to outrun consequences before they could catch up. Insiders described her as emotionally unavailable during this time. Distant, guarded, terrified of letting anyone too close. And when people did get close, they were pushed away just as quickly. Tasha K told her listeners that heartbreak wasn't the real reason relationships ended. It was information, something discovered, something suspected, something far too heavy to ignore. And that, she claimed, was why breakups became abrupt. No slow fade. No closure. Just sudden, deafening silence. She then described what she called the containment phase, the moment Hollywood allegedly realized the situation could explode. Reputation managers reportedly stepped in. Stories were redirected. Narratives reframed. Timelines blurred. Instead of addressing health concerns, the public was fed cheating rumors, personality conflicts, career differences, anything except the truth. And it worked. For years, fans speculated about drama, infidelity, egos, but no one ever asked the most dangerous question of all: was someone being protected? Tasha K told her audience that the emotional toll on everyone involved was devastating. Sleepless nights, panic attacks, isolation, people quietly withdrawing from the world around them. From social circles, avoiding intimacy, living in constant fear of what a single test result could reveal. And according to Tasha K, one person in particular broke down. She did not name them, but described someone who allegedly spent months in denial before finally seeking answers. Medical answers, private answers, answers that never reached the media. And when those answers finally came, careers shifted, contracts were renegotiated, and relationships quietly vanished. She said that from that moment on, this story was no longer about one woman. It had become damage control. Because if even a single allegation had reached mainstream media, the fallout would have been irreversible. Labels, studios, tour sponsors, all were at risk. Tasha K told her listeners that this is why the reaction behind the scenes was immediate. Emergency meetings, crisis calls, and strict orders to stay silent. And it was that silence that allowed the story to remain buried, until now. By the time Tasha K reached the end of this segment, the atmosphere had completely changed. What had begun as shocking gossip had evolved into something far darker, systemic, and dangerous, something that powerful forces desperately wanted erased. And as she paused to take a breath, one fact was painfully clear. If this chapter was true, the next phase of the story would no longer be about relationships. It would be about panic, reputation collapse, and an industry scrambling to protect itself from a truth it could no longer control. By the time Tasha K reached this point in her podcast, the damage had already begun, not publicly, not in headlines, but quietly, behind closed doors in Hollywood's most powerful rooms. Because according to her, the moment these allegations began circulating behind the scenes, the industry didn't react with denial. It reacted with fear. Phones began ringing late into the night. Private meetings were scheduled off the calendar. Law firms activated crisis teams before a single article had even been written. Tasha K told her listeners that insiders described the atmosphere as panic disguised as control, not because the story was false, but because it was considered too dangerous to surface publicly. And that's when she revealed something truly chilling. She claimed that after the breakup with Aaron Pierre, Teyana didn't simply move on. According to Tasha K, this was the moment she allegedly entered image protection mode. Reputation management became priority number one. Stylists began adjusting narratives. Publicists quietly rewrote timelines. Interviews suddenly sounded polished, careful, almost rehearsed. She further alleged that subtle efforts were made to distance Aaron Pierre from credibility. Not through public attacks, but through quiet shifts, questioning his stability, framing him as emotionally unstable, subtly painting him as obsessive. Nothing loud. Nothing obvious. Just a careful reshaping of perception. And Tasha K issued a warning to her audience. When credibility disappears, truth becomes dangerously easy to bury. According to her, insiders noticed a sudden change in how Aaron was treated. Invitations stopped coming. Projects slowed. Connections cooled. It was almost as if someone had whispered something behind the scenes, something that made people take a step back. And Tasha K claimed that whisper was no coincidence. It was influence. She said this was the moment the situation turned strategic. Because once fear enters the room, power takes control. She described Hollywood as an ecosystem that survives on silence, and when silence is threatened, the system reacts. This, she claimed, was when true industry containment began. Narratives were redirected. Instead of questions about health, the public was fed stories about heartbreak. Instead of rumors of exposure, fans were given relationship drama, cheating headlines, ego conflicts, creative differences, anything except the real danger lurking behind the scenes. And for a while, it worked. While fans debated loyalty and gossip, executives quietly managed risk behind closed doors. Tasha K claimed that certain individuals were advised to disappear from public spaces. No red carpets, no parties, no late-night appearances. Testing appointments were scheduled discreetly. Medical confidentiality agreements were signed. Conversations that once felt casual suddenly became legally sensitive. One insider described it as a silent quarantine without walls. No lockdowns, no announcements, just distance. Distance from people. Distance from situations. Distance from questions no one wanted to face. Then she turned to social media. According to Tasha K, the moment fragments of this story began leaking online, Hollywood lost control. Private DMs, anonymous blinds, cryptic tweets. Fans started noticing patterns. Unexplained breakups, sudden cancellations, abrupt withdrawals from public life. With every unexplained move, speculation grew. She told her listeners that at one point, a major label reportedly delayed a project without explanation. Another studio quietly restructured a contract. And one AIS celebrity allegedly demanded new clauses in their health disclosure agreements. No one publicly said why, but insiders understood. Something had frightened the industry. And that's when Tasha K returned to her most controversial claim yet. She alleged that after the breakup, Teyana had used her influence to control the narrative, not through interviews, not through statements, but through quiet, behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Through access alone, she claimed, certain journalists suddenly stopped asking questions. Certain bloggers ceased posting, and some stories that were ready to go never made it past legal review. Tasha K did not accuse anyone directly, but the implication was unmistakable. Power was at work. Then she paused, lowered her voice, and said something that sent a wave of unease through her audience. The emotional fallout from this situation may have been far worse than anyone realized. Sleepless nights. Panic attacks. People isolating themselves out of fear of tests, results, and consequences. Insiders allegedly witnessed at least one person completely withdraw from public life for months. No interviews. No sightings. No explanations. Almost as if they were waiting for something, or someone. Then she returned to the relationship dynamics one final time, explaining that the most revealing clue was not medical, it was emotional. She described how Aaron Pierre's behavior, in hindsight, suddenly made sense. The neediness, the craving for reassurance, the constant search for comfort. almost like someone sensing danger without fully understanding it. And then she delivered the assessment that sealed this chapter of the story.
People think it was a PR relationship. I feel that it was. I feel like it was mutually beneficial. They both could use the PR. This helped her to distract from what was going on with Emin. Is that his name, Jasmine?
It's Iman.
Now that he's,
Iman.
Iman. Okay. Y'all know I'm bad with names. And so,
Those words landed like a verdict. The narrative had shifted one final time, from romance to destruction, from connection to strategy, from scandal to cover-up. Tasha K suggested that this relationship may never have been about love at all. It may have been about visibility, redirecting attention, rewriting headlines, keeping the focus away from something far more dangerous unfolding behind closed doors. She said the timing alone raised red flags, right after the divorce, right after rumors, just before questions could surface, almost too perfect. She told her listeners this is how Hollywood often handles crises, not by denying, but by distracting. Create a new narrative. Introduce a new romance. Flood the timeline with fresh images. And while the public debates love stories, the real problem quietly disappears. She claimed this tactic bought time, months, maybe years, enough for contracts to be renegotiated, for records to be sealed, for people to quietly move on. But what no one anticipated was Tasha K. According to her, the reason she finally spoke was simple. People had been hurt, not just emotionally, but physically. And silence was no longer ethical. She told her audience that what disturbed her most was not the celebrity behavior itself. It was the pattern of protection, the way power shields itself, the way truth is buried under influence, and the way people without power are left to face consequences alone. She said that in this case, if even a fraction of what she had uncovered was true, even if one person had been unknowingly placed at risk, she said, then the story had to be told, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how explosive. And she warned her listeners, this was only the beginning. Because once fear spreads through an industry, it leaves traces. Legal traces. Medical traces. Digital traces. And sooner or later, someone always talks. She ended this portion of the podcast with a statement that sent chills through the chat. That there were still names she had not mentioned, documents she had not shown, and connections she had not yet revealed. Not because they didn't exist, but because the timing mattered. According to her, when the full map of this story is exposed, it won't just reveal relationships. It will expose systems. Systems designed to protect fame over safety, silence over truth, and power over people. And as she prepared to continue, one reality became impossible to ignore. Hollywood was no longer dealing with a scandal. It was facing a crisis of trust. Because if these allegations were even partially true, then this was never about one celebrity. It was about an industry that may have knowingly allowed danger to exist as long as no one spoke. And the most terrifying part? Someone finally did. From this moment forward, nothing about this story could be controlled again. And now comes the part no one in Hollywood wants you to hear. Because if even a fraction of these allegations are true, this is no longer a celebrity story at all. This is no longer a celebrity scandal. This is a story about betrayal at the highest level, about trust shattered behind closed doors, and about an industry that consistently chose silence over safety. Think about it. How many people placed their faith in relationships they believed were real? How many careers were carefully built on manufactured images? And how many lives were quietly put at risk, all while cameras kept rolling and contracts kept being signed? This is what happens when fame outweighs truth, when influence surpasses honesty, when reputations are protected and consequences are quietly buried. Because the most tragic part of this story isn't in the headlines. It's in the lives of those who may never know the exact moment betrayal struck. The partners who trusted blindly. The insiders who stayed silent. The executives who looked the other way. And the star at the center of it all, navigating fear, pressure, secrecy, and survival in an industry that shows no mercy when images begin to crack. Tonight's story is not gossip. It's a warning. About how quickly love turns into damage control. About how easily narratives are rewritten when power steps in. And about how dangerous silence becomes when the truth is too expensive to tell. So ask yourself this before you look away. What else has been hidden behind Hollywood's perfect smiles? Who else has been protected while others paid the price? And how many stories like this are still buried, waiting for the right moment to explode? Because one thing is certain, this story does not end here. New names will surface. New documents will leak. New voices will break their silence. And when that happens, the version of reality we were sold may finally collapse. Stay alert. Stay skeptical. And never forget, in this industry, the most dangerous secrets are not the ones that destroy careers. They are the ones that silence the truth.